Can you find the minimum and maximum for this function? If you memorize f of x is equals to x cubed is a nice cubic function that looks like this, then perhaps you remember function transformations. This means 1 to the right and 2 units up. So right away, 1 unit to the right would go to the right this way, and 2 units up would go up this way. This would be the point of inflection up here. The point of inflections would occur at 1, 2. So there is no minimum or maximum for this function here. None. So now I'm using Wolfram alpha to expand that cubic function out here. X minus 1 cubed plus 2. When you expand it out, we have x cubed minus 3x squared plus 3x plus 1. We know how to expand polynomials, so we didn't really need to use Wolfram, but it's nice and convenient for homework. Now let's practice using calculus. What's the derivative? What's the slope formula? Let's use power rule. We're going to drop the exponent, 3x squared. We're going to decrease the number 3 by 1. So we have negative 3 times 2 is negative 6x plus 3, and the derivative of 1 is 0, so we're not going to bother writing that down. Now this here is a nice quadratic, and we're interested in finding the critical points. So if we didn't know how to sketch it, we can see the critical point here occurs at, the slope is 0 here at x equals 1. So we know the answer already. When is the slope 0? That's a critical point. Let's just practice this. So 0, we're going to factor, is going to be 3, x squared minus 2x plus 1, 0, and when you factor this, x minus 1 squared becomes this part here. You're allowed in math using algebra to divide by 3. You get 0 is equal to x minus 1 squared. So you can see we can solve this equation, and the critical point happens to be at x equals 1. When x is 1, 1 minus 1 becomes 0. Left side equals right side. So this here is where the derivative is 0. So without even knowing what this function looks like, at x equals 1 here, we have a country boundary. Very important, critical point. We need to think of a number to the left and to the right. Perhaps Canada, USA. Let's pick a nice candidate number. Let's pick the number 0 here for Canada, and let's pick the number 2 here for USA. Now what is the slope at x equals 0? F prime of 0 is equals to, I'm going to copy this template for the derivative formula, f prime of x. It's going to be 3 times 0 squared minus 6 times 0 plus 3. This becomes 0, 0, and 3. So the slope happens to be 3, which means the graph is increasing. So for this graph that we had with the country boundary, the function should definitely be increasing. Now what about 2? What is the slope when it's 2? F prime of 2 is equals to 3 times something squared minus 6 times that something plus 3. We're going to use function substitution here. And what we have is, this is going to be 4 times 3 is 12, minus 6 times 2 is 12, plus 3. Again, the function is going to be increasing. It's going to be 3, which means it's uphill again. So as you can see, we have windshield wipers. We have increasing, increasing. This is not a maximum. It's not a minimum. In fact, we already know how to sketch this. This happens to be a point of inflection. So clearly, there is no minimum or maximum for this question.